Hey guys, just finished 3 awesome services at Westside Church, and it was a great day. I was just informed that our last YouTube video that we put up was pulled down by the Olympic Commission Committee, which we like to call the CCP. They do not like it when you rebroadcast America winning. So we broadcasted the men's and women's winning goals, and our video got taken down. So we have edited it. And if you want to watch the goals in the moment where we're talking about the scores, you can pause, watch the scores, rejoice with us, come back. But it'll be back up now. That's why there's this awkward cut in the middle of it, is because we got taken down by the fascist Olympic Committee. But we love the Olympics. We're grateful we won gold. But watch it. It's going to be great. Appreciate you guys. Have a good day.
Hey, Corey Tobin here. We're just hopping on, checking the news, seeing what's hot, what's happening, and kind of trying to give some perspective on some things. If you might be wondering about what's going on in the news and maybe my thoughts, process, whatever, but something new we're doing. So if you like what's happening, hit like, subscribe, check it out. Let's just start with Mr. Scott Jennings on CNN. See what's happening here with the SAVE Act.
76% of black voters think we should show an ID to vote. 80% of Hispanic voters, 83% of the American people. Are you saying that black voters are too dumb to know what's good for them? I mean, it sounds pretty condescending to me.
That's not
You get three-quarters of black voters who want voter ID.
But to be clear, the SAVE Act is not
a little bit for me so I can hear
the SAVE Act is about
proof
of citizenship.
So what?
So it doesn't.
It also makes it very hard for married women who've changed
I was just going to say, we talked about this before.
By the way,
it's not. It actually, there's an argument to be made that red state voters, women, poor white voters could be just as.
I know you think they're dumb too, don't you? I mean, that's the thing. I hear these arguments. I've heard Democrats all week long.
No, please don't. No, you listen.
There's the deflection from talking about Donald Trump's racism.
I'm actually
there.
You should be thinking about your constituents or your.
Yeah, I think they're smart enough to figure out how to register to vote. Abby.
Hold on. Most Americans don't have a passport. Many Americans don't have access to their birth certificate. Many women, a majority of women who change their names for marriage have to provide additional proof that they've changed their legal names in order to register to vote.
I have heard Democrats make these same arguments.
Why don't you actually respond to the substance of what I'm saying?
I am, and
as
the substance
opposed
is
to
this.
making this about something that it's not.
You're saying,
it's not just about voter ID.
married
It's
women,
also about
black
who has
voters,
access
and rural people are too stupid to figure out how to register to vote.
No, that's not.
That is not what
Democrats have been making this argument all the time. It's crazy.
That is not what she said.
Are you saying they can't figure out how to vote?
Okay. So the SAVE Act. I think this is important to. I think this is important to talk about, and here's why. I was doing the same thing. I was looking at the data. I was looking at the talking points, and I believe that one of the most important things that this administration, President Trump, can do, and anybody that's with him, the most important thing we can do is to moderate, fix the election system. It is out of control. And so the SAVE Act does that. It's one step in that direction to fix what's going on and make it better. So let me just give you a little background here. What CNN's talking point here is that the SAVE Act will disenfranchise voters. They're even on record as saying that 69 million married women are now burdened to try to prove that their name has changed, and that if they don't, that they will not be able to vote. And it's a lie. It's a bold-faced, dishonest conjecture that is unfounded, and I'll tell you why. Scott's making a very important point here, and I love that that they have Scott on CNN anyway. I mean, he is like the one conservative. What I'd like to see, and I think I was telling somebody else this, I'd like to see them put on another conservative, preferably female, that would come on and back up what Scott's saying, so that he's not like 1 on 5, 1 on 6, 1 on 10 all the time. And I think that would probably help CNN's ratings in this particular roundtable discussion. But what he's saying is that the talking point is that married women and minority voters have a hard time proving their citizenship. It's too difficult for them to figure out. Can I just say this? my wife was born in North Carolina. I needed to, for various reasons, I needed to acquire a legitimate certified copy of her birth certificate. So I contacted the county, the city and county where she's from, asked them how to do it. It cost me $24, and it was in my mailbox in 10 days. And it was not difficult at all. And to tell the American people who are most of which carry one of these, a smartphone, from ages 13, 14, 15, 16, up to 80, 90 years old, that they can't figure out how to get a birth certificate from the county they're living in is insane. Now, affordability, there are some people that cannot afford the $20, the $40, whatever the county's charging to get a certified copy of their birth certificate. That I totally understand. But the argument that we're disenfranchising voters who can't prove their citizenship is insanity. It's ludicrous. It's actually, what would be the word? It's insulting to people's intelligence that they can't figure this out. I don't know anybody. I don't know any Americans, personal friends that do not carry ID. I don't know anyone. It's ludicrous to say that they can't figure out how to get an ID or how to get their birth certificate. So, okay, so let's say they can't afford it. They know how to do it. They can't afford it. There is a caveat in the Save American Act to sign an affidavit that you are a sworn citizen, and that the people that are adjudicating that affidavit can sign off on that as well and say, yes, we know them, we believe what they're saying. And so under penalty of perjury, you can sign an affidavit that says, I am who I say I am, and I was born in the U.S. Now, there are precious few people, I believe, that are not born in the U.S. that are willing to risk perjury and expulsion from the country in signing that affidavit. So most of the people that are going to sign that just cannot put their hand on a birth certificate to prove citizenship will sign that affidavit in the state's registrar's office or wherever they can, wherever that is, and say I am, and still be able to vote. So that obliterates the argument that this act is going to disenfranchise voters. Obliterates it. So pay attention to that. We need to pass this law. Let's play the next clip. I have more to say on this, but let's play the next clip.
Texas Republican Congressman Chip Roy, who's also running.
He's the one he's the architect of this bill.
Congressman, it's great to see you.
He's going to explain
today.
a little bit of it.
Good to see you, Will.
You are one of the drafters, one of the designers of the Save America Act to ensure that citizenship would need to be proven before registering to vote. Let's talk about what that entails. What would a citizen have to do, Congressman, to show they are a citizen before they register to vote?
Well, thanks, Will. First of all, the SAVE Act, as I introduced it 2 years ago, focused on the citizenship question. As you know, we added voter ID to it in the Save America Act for clarity, and that's sent over to the Senate. With respect to the citizenship question, we tried to make it simple and straightforward for individual citizens, but yes, put a little bit of a burden on the states. Here's why. States currently, as law has been interpreted by judges, and you'll appreciate this, are being prohibited from matching their voter rolls against the SAVE system, the database that we have on citizenship. So Arizona, for example, they have to run two different systems, one for their state and local elections, one for federal. They check citizenship on their state and local, but they can't on their federal. So the SAVE Act fixes that. With respect to what you have to produce, what we're saying is if you're currently registered, you'll still be able to go vote, no problem. But if you have a life intervening event, you move, you change your name, you get married,
Pause.
Whatever.
So notice what he just said. He said if you're already registered to vote and you're in the same place that you've lived for forever and you've not made a major change, you've not done anything drastic where you moved out of state or changed your marital status or any of that, you're the same. You are still voting. You're still voting. You don't have to go in and prove your citizenship and prove. It's when you have a life change. This act is the first step in election integrity. We have to have election integrity. This closes the front door to future fraud. So people that are coming in to register to vote for the first time in a state or in the country, right? They came in legally, however that is, and they've become a citizen, however that is, that they're ready and they're registered to vote. They have to prove citizenship to vote. That is something we need in our country. This does not stop people that have lived in the same area for the last 5 or 10 years or 50 years from voting. They do not have to come into the very next time they vote and prove their citizenship. This is a bill that closes the front door to fraud. So again, you are not hearing this on mainstream media. It's insanity. All these talking points should be right out front bold, and that's why I'm saying this. You know, me and the handful of subscribers, and this is a growing thing, and we need this to be subscribed and go viral. But there are other people saying this thing. They need to understand this is the first step in election integrity. We are closing the ability of people that want to inject themselves into our voting systems and continue with ongoing fraudulent activity. It stops it. You have to present ID to prove to vote. And what this does is it does put a burden back on the states. The states that are just giving people the ability to vote because they can get a driver's license, which is not a proof of citizenship in a lot of states, needs to be stopped. That's why they're crying so hard. That's why people that want to cheat the system are bucking so hard. And look at the loudest voices against the SAVE Act. They do not want states to come under the burden of handing out ID to vote and having to prove citizenship. In our state, in Washington State and in Minnesota, Governor Walz signed this bill that ID for all, a driver's license for all. You don't have to prove citizenship to get a driver's license in Minnesota or in Washington State. That's crazy. So do we want them to have ID? Yes, but it should be an ID that does not give them the ability to vote in our election system. So it does put a burden back on the state for future registrants, future people coming into the state, trying to get a government issued ID. It puts the burden back on the person and the state that they are citizens of the state. So that I totally agree with. It doesn't retroactively go back. I live in the same place. I don't have to go in and prove my citizenship. I have the ability to do that. I believe every citizen in America, with very few exceptions, can go and find their birth certificate. And if they need help, then that is a little bit of a burden. But if we don't fix the election system right now, we don't start putting safeguards up right now, we will not have a country left. The powers that be will cause people and bring enough voters and enough people in that are not qualified to vote and use their ballot, whether they're voting it or not. They will use that ballot to vote on in our elections. If we don't fix that and begin to fix that, then it will get bad. So what he said there is very important. It doesn't disenfranchise anybody that's voting where they've been for a long time. But if they do move, or if there's new registrations, new move-ins to the state, new people that are asking for government-issued ID, they are going to have to prove citizenship. And that should be a burden that's instituted on every state so that we know that the only people voting in our elections are citizens. It's a no-brainer. It should be non-contestable idea for this to come forward. Are you guys hearing me? Okay, try keep going.
Then you're going to need to go re-register like you normally would. But in that act, you're going to have to demonstrate citizenship with the state. There, you can use a passport or something that already shows your citizenship. Or if your state has a real ID that checks citizenship against the database,
in some states
you can
do that.
If not, then you'll have to match, like you do for anything else, you'll have to show your photo ID from your state, your driver's license, along with a birth certificate or a certified copy. Maybe you marry it with your marriage license or whatever you need to demonstrate your citizenship and your name. Here's the final point.
Pause.
Because a lot of...
He's about to make the most important point of the entire SAVE Act, the safeguard they put in to make sure that people that are citizens and are eligible to vote can vote. So no one's getting disenfranchised. None. It would be awesome to see, and I'm not sure if we can even find this, but it would be awesome to see, I just thought of this, what states in our country and what states, vote, kind of which way they lean politically, which way they vote politically, how they allow or what they check for citizenship, like which ones of them, when you get a driver's license, actually check the SAVE database to see which ones are citizens and which ones are not. Which states don't check that because they're not required to on the state level or for the federal elections, and which ones do. Because it would be really interesting to see the states that check citizenship on their government issued, their state issued ID, and which ones do not, side by side, and how those vote. That would be really interesting. Maybe we can find that, maybe we can't. But pay attention to this next part of this clip, because this is the caveat, the safeguard, to make sure that every single American that claims to be an American, claims to be a citizen, can vote and will not miss out on voting in elections. Watch what he says.
People are asking questions. They're saying, well, that's going to prevent women who've got complications with name changes. Hold on. We actually allow a fail-safe that you go and you can sign an affidavit that says, this is my driver's license. My name is Sarah Jones on my driver's license. Here's my birth certificate, Sarah Smith. I certify under penalty of perjury that I'm the same person. And we allow that. And we allow states to make other mechanisms under their laws to make sure that they match it. So we're just requiring a process.
That is all that would be required of a married woman, because that is a major talking point coming from Democrats and across the mainstream media, that you are disenfranchising some 69 million
because they're ignoring
women.
This entire part.
That is what Congresswoman Lauren Underwood is saying. Listen to this, Congressman.
If y'all got married and changed your name, your birth certificate would not match your current name. Nearly 69 million women in America have a birth certificate that does not match their current name, and therefore 69 million American women would no longer
This is what they're peddling to the American people. So the problem with Miss Underwood here is that she's just reading talking points. She didn't actually do the homework. She didn't actually listen to the architect of the bill explain how you can make this change. And this is the frustrating part about the left of the parties is they're being disingenuous with this bill. They are trying to produce fear. It's propaganda. It's fear-based. It is absolutely ludicrous to look at the absolute facts of this bill and be against it. And the only reason that can be is if the Democrats are using illegal ability to vote as their constituency. And we already know that in census data, they're using just people in census data, not citizens, people, to inflate and change the districts. So this is not okay. This does not work. We need the SAVE Act. It is something we can stand behind as Americans, that it's the first step in order of closing the front door for election fraud. It's the first step. And what Chip Roy just said there, the architect of this bill, with other Republicans and Democrats supporting it, is that there is a way, this safeguard, this fail-safe, he said, to come to the registrant's office and say, listen, I know that my birth certificate or my and my actual name, they don't match because I was married, but I am signing under penalty of perjury this affidavit that I am one and the same. This is me. This is who I am. If they sign that can be received by those that are adjudicating those affidavits from the registrar's office. Those people that are basically guaranteeing, and they can sign off and say, yes, I believe that what they said is true and correct. And then you can vote. So they made a way for you to do this. And again, under penalty of perjury, it should be, but it is closing the front door. So as Americans, we absolutely can get behind the SAVE Act. Do you have that clip well, let's play the rest of this out and then we'll go to that clip.
What happens when you're on the wrong side of an 85% issue because you want to make sure that you continue to allow people to vote who shouldn't vote because they're an important part of your constituency. The fact here is, as I said, we make very clear that states can create processes to make it work, but then we literally put into our statute that process for an affidavit so that you can go. And by the way, I asked my wife, I said, look, how did you go about all of this, right? She had to change all of her documents and she walked me through it. She changed her Social Security documentation. She got her passport lined up. She did all the stuff. When she got married, she filed all that to change it. But to the extent she runs into a problem, again, as we said, we make it very clear. Here's my driver's license. Here's my birth certificate. Yes, the names don't match, but I certify I am the same person. And then here's the other piece that we added. If you're somebody who's working for the registrar or working for the state and you're taking it all in, you can actually sign an affidavit that these individuals have provided enough information that you're satisfied that they're a citizen. but you're under perjury, and you can be prosecuted if you knowingly do it.
Okay, so pause.
If you know this.
So that piece of it's very interesting too. So the registrar that's intaking names, they can sign under penalty of perjury. So what that does is it puts the accountability back on the registrar that if they're going to sign for names, they're accountable that they did their best job possible to affirm that that person is a citizen. So that eliminates mass names being injected into the voter rolls, at the stroke of an auto pen of some sort, because that person's putting their integrity on the line. They're risking jail time to do that. There's a precious few that will do that. There are others that have overlooked some things, some abnormalities in the system. But if you put that in the SAVE Act and you put it under penalty of perjury, now you've restricted the people that are accountable for that to sign it. Now they can. There are registrars that are good registrars all over our country, all over our counties in the United States, that will sign and affidavit these people. Yes, we believe them, but that eliminates the mass production, the thousands and tens of thousands of names that are trying to be pushed through in the electronic system that are not validated and corroborated that they have citizenship in the country. So it's a great piece of legislation because it does close the front door. It's stopping fraud from this point forward. But it does not fix the gap that we have in the dirty voter rolls that we have in Washington State and other states. It doesn't fix that part. This legislation isn't meant to fix that. But they understand, those that oppose this, that have read this bill and know what's in it, even though they're not saying everything that's in it, those that oppose it know that stops future fraud or really severely hinders it and limits it. And we need that in our country. We've got to have clean elections. There's other legislation, I believe, that's coming forward to help clean the voter rolls and get the dead people off and the people that are registered to vote that are not, that have just come in and got a driver's license. But that needs to be fixed. Let me see this. States that don't check for citizenship when getting a driver's license: California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Maryland, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Nevada, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, Rhode Island, Utah, Vermont, Virginia, and Washington. I would say 95% of those vote blue most of the time if you look at the map. California, we know for sure. Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, yes. Illinois, Maryland, Massachusetts, blue, blue, blue. Minnesota, blue. Nevada, both. It's back and forth. New Jersey, blue. New Mexico, back and forth. New York, blue. Oregon, blue. Rhode Island, blue. Utah, back and forth. Reddish. A lot of red. Utah voted red a long time. Vermont, Virginia. Virginia's a little back and forth. Been blue a little bit. Vermont, Washington, blue. Blue, blue, blue. They do not require looking at citizenship. That should tell you something. These are the states, these are the legislators, these are the Democrat leaders of these states, these senators, these congressmen that are fighting this bill. That should tell you something. That should tell you something. This is why we need the SAVE Act. Anyway, let's see how this clip plays out. Finish that out.
This is a non-citizen. So we've covered our bases in our view.
So affidavit. In this situation, many opportunities to change your birth certificate, change your marriage license, change your ID, but an affidavit in the end to ensure your ability to vote. All right, thank you for that.
Brilliant. Go to the clip with CNN. Is the next clip the C? Yeah, show this. He quoted this already.
Take a look here. Favorite photo ID to vote. 85% of white people
favor. CNN. Notice that corner. CNN.
Latino. 76% of Black Americans
favor photo ID to vote.
The bottom line is this. Voter ID is not controversial in this country. A photo ID to vote is not controversial in this country. It is not controversial by party, and it is not controversial by race. The vast majority of Americans agree with Nicki Minaj that, in fact, you should have a photo ID to be able to vote.
So something of a non.
Okay, so he's using the poll was photo ID, right? And so the blue states we just listed, for the most part, don't have a problem with voter ID because they've issued photo ID to people that they haven't proven that are actual U.S. citizens. So, in all those states I just listed, including our state in Washington, you can get a driver's license without proving that you're a citizen, without proving you have been here, just that you have residency. That's it. So they don't have a problem with that. What they have a problem with is proving citizenship. When you move here and they want their ability to issue a driver's license to be enough to vote. Because in our state, you can register to vote right when you get your driver's license. Matter of fact, the DMV either does it automatically or asks you right then, register to vote. So they want to continue that as proof of ability to vote when it's not proof of citizenship. So again, back to this, it's the front door. So the SAVE Act is the front door. We're closing the front door of all future ability for people to get an ID. And that's going to put a burden on Virginia and Oregon and Washington and California and Maryland and Massachusetts and Nevada, all these states. It's going to put a burden on them that when they issue an ID, that they're going to have to do some sort of recognition of citizenship, which is absolutely necessary. We want that. In our country, we want that. We have other problems to fix, but this is why we support the SAVE Act. This is why 85, 82, and 76% of the people believe that proving who you are is an important piece of voting. So just stay in that. Stay in that. Call your congressman. I know it falls on deaf ears a lot to call your congressman, send them an email, tell them you want them to vote on the SAVE Act. It's not in the left's best interest to listen to you tell them that, but at least it logs that you are in favor of the SAVE Act. And just as a little side thought here, just thinking of this, our state is pushing through our legislation in our state, Washington State, is pushing through an income tax that in the open period of where you can define where you're at with the legislation. You can come to testify in person, you can testify on video, or you can log con or pro in the legislative system with a few clicks of a button. Put your name in there, your address, proof who you are, where you live. You can log con or pro for an income tax in Washington State. That's what they're pushing through, an income tax. And they're calling it a millionaire's tax, but it's what it's going to do is just push all our millionaires and the millionaire people out of our state, and then they'll have to readjust it down to half millionaires, quarter millionaires, and eventually that tax is going to be directly on all the people of Washington State. And they've already admitted to that it's going to happen in the next 5 or 6 years, 4 years, it'll happen. So 100,000 people registered con from our state, with only like 7 or 8 or 9,000 people registering pro for the income tax in our state. It was a vast majority. And the Democrats come on and they make statements like the system's rigged, it's not right, it's bots, it's just computerized. I'm telling you, I registered con, and a bunch of people that I know registered con. We do not want an income tax in our state on any way, shape, or form. On millionaires, half a millionaires, quarter millionaires, on anybody. We do not want an income tax. We want fiscal responsibility from our legislation. That's what we want. We don't want to add more ways to tax the base. We have plenty of taxes. We have high sales tax. We got tax on everything. We got tax on gas. They keep raising it. It's why our gas prices are so high. And our legislators are lying to us and telling us that Donald Trump's policies are not giving us lower taxes. It's because you keep adding taxes at the state level to the tax that's already coming in, or to the gas that's already coming in. It's insane. So we do not want it. And they come on and say that it's a false system. It doesn't work. No, the system's working real good. You just don't like the results. So register con on bills in Washingtonians. Register con on bills you don't like, and pro on bills you do like. And you need to find out what these things are going on. Jared, maybe you can give me that organization. I can't think of it right off the moment. Washington, it's a Washington like voters, like FWIP, something like that. Anyway, they send out initiatives all the time. I'll see if I can find that. They send out initiatives all the time that tell you when bills are good and when they're bad. And I'm going to look it up real quick and see. Legislation. Let's see if I can find this. All right, here's something right here. Let me see if I can get you what it stands for, so you guys can go look for it. It's FPIW. And they will send you alerts. Yeah. Okay. So look up FPIW Washington State. I'm trying to find what the actual acronym stands for. It's listed here somewhere. Family Policy Institute of Washington. Thank you. So, there it is. Yeah. So you can get on their website and get on their email list, and they will send you stuff. and they'll tell you why the bill is up, what it's doing. So that kind of stuff you need to be involved in so you can register pro, con, you can have your voice. We need to do that in Washington State. Now, again, they're coming back with us. We have a supermajority in Washington State legislation of Democrats to Republicans, because half of the Republicans we have in there, that might be an exaggeration, but it feels like half of the Republicans we actually have in our state legislation are rhinos. They vote Democrat all the time. They're not in line. They're not in step with the conservatives of Washington State. So, we still need to rebut, even though they are discounting it, calling it bots and misinformation, but we still need to be a voice in there. So, back to elections and propaganda and what's going on with, State of the Union address and why we need to fix our elections so badly so that we can fix the propaganda and the indoctrination that's going on in our schools. Watch this clip of this gal just asking a few college students about the State of the Union address.
College kids are telling us Trump's State of the Union didn't go so well. The only problem? It's tomorrow. Rate Trump's State of the Union speech 1 out of 10. 1's the worst, 10's the best. Negatives. And why? I think we all know a lot of reasons. Yeah. What about the State of the Union last night? 1 to 10.
It was like a 1 or 2. I mean, it was all over the place.
Probably just giving a 0.
Gonna give it a 1.
And why do you say 1?
Pre-programmed.
I don't think he's very articulate.
How did Trump do with the State of the Union?
Pre-programmed.
0. I'll be real, I didn't watch it.
Yeah, I didn't really watch it much. I watched it for a little bit, but turned off. The State of the Union last night. How was that 1 to 10?
I know it was last night. I thought it was tomorrow.
No, you're good. You passed the test. Good job.
So she didn't lie, and she didn't come up with a pre-programmed response to say that it was terrible when they hadn't even watched it. This is the problem with the education system. These kids, our country, is programmed with propaganda to spit out what they have been told. And again, this comes back to education. It is performance-based. You are told what and how to test. You are told how and what to know and learn and to regurgitate, and then you're not taught to learn. You're not taught to find information for yourself. You are taught to absorb and repeat. This is a problem. Our education system is a problem because you are not taught how to learn, how to find factual information for yourself. You and I have been taught in an education system that is deeply flawed and has been flawed, and we won't get into it right now, from the 1930s, the Rockefeller Foundation. They fundamentally transformed education in our country. And this is why school choice is important. This is why homeschooling is important. This is why choosing where your tax dollars go is important. Our education is deeply flawed. It is propaganda from the beginning to the end, and these students are answering questions based on an event that hasn't happened yet, and they have a presupposed idea of what had happened without even checking it for themselves. It's irritating. So please, parents, if you have no other choice right now to have your kids in a public school, I understand the dilemma, but please do the work of coming home and re-educating your children in biblical, godly, fact-based education so that they can orient while they're in school and fundamentally decide what they believe based on what you're telling them at home and what they're being told at school. Because if you and I don't lean in to what they're being told and give them fact-based evidence, they will listen. They're being taught to listen, to sponge in, and then to regurgitate what they're told. They're not taught to disseminate information. They're not being taught to hear what this teacher or this book has said and base that on actual intellectual facts and other information to decide for themselves. They're saying, this is what you need to know. This is what the test's on. Memorize this, spit this out. That's it. So all that does for us is that they go into TikTok and Instagram and X, and they based on the algorithm and the stuff that they're looking at and the people that they're connected to, they're bringing in information and not disseminating it at all. Absorb and regurgitate, and that's becoming their worldview. That's a problem. We need to fix that ASAP. What else we got? Serve at the Hunt. The Hunt is coming up. We have April 4th, just a handful of weeks away, the day right before Easter. We do a community-wide event for our whole area. We need help with that. We had hundreds of people show up to that in the past. We're going to expect that again. It's a great opportunity for our church to shine, for the people of God to shine. The gospel is preached. Candy is given out. People are excited about this event, and we give stuff away. It's going to be fun. Coffee will be there. It'll be good. So show up and serve. We need a bunch of people to show up and serve. Whether you're part of our church or not, we need people there. So if you want to show up, wcspokane.com/serve. We'd love to have you. There's a lot of places to serve in that, and set up, tear down, the whole deal. But it's going to be a great event. Glad you'll be there. Put it in your calendar, show up. It's going to be a good time. What else? All right, so why don't we run this? This is what's happening in Mexico after a cartel leader was dispatched with by the Mexican military. That's a Costco, I believe, in Puerto Vallarta. That's a Costco parking lot. Gunshots, you can hear gunshots, or probably maybe it could have been a car exploding, bumpers exploding, things exploding, batteries, different things. A couple of different things it could be with things on fire. What's the next one? This is just like another pan of just fires. Just fires set. Not sure if this is Puerto Vallarta, but this is another place in Mexico. Yeah, it is Puerto Vallarta. 2 different fires they've shown there. Pan in the skyscape. Another fire there in the distance. Ocean. This is like resort town. This is like where cruise ships come in, people vacation, nice beaches, warm water. Another shot of stuff, homes on fire. This is the cartel's reaction to their demonic evil leader being taken out by the Mexican military. Potentially with help from the U.S., at least locating, intelligence-wise locating. Unknown at the moment. I'm speculating there. But this is what the cartels do to protest their leader. Why am I showing this to you? This is what is coming to America if we don't control our borders. This is what comes to America. This is what happens. This is stuff we've seen with our own domestic terrorists, Antifa organizations and others. When they don't get what they want, they burn things down. That is godless and needs to be squashed. And that was propagated by cartels. That was helped fund by NGOs in our country and cartels. The stuff that we'd seen, widespread violence in our country. This is happening in Mexico because they're upset that their leader, I believe it was El Mencho, their leader was assassinated, taken out. And I'm telling you, these wicked leaders, they need the fight brought to their door. Because they are the number one human trafficker. They're the number one, these cartels, number one human trafficker, number one drug trafficker, number one gun trafficker. These are absolutely opposing values of American institutions. And if we don't bring the fight to them, they'll continue to bring it to our door. And this is why we need a border. We need closed borders. We need a significant drop in fentanyl. I think President Trump said that he started tariffing China because they were producing the fentanyl that was coming into our country. And when we put tariffs on China, the fentanyl production went down. We made it unprofitable for them to bring fentanyl into our country, to supply the cartels with fentanyl. That's exactly what we're doing. So is there more on this cartel violence? Is it? Mike Lee said this: if you don't want to see widespread drug cartel violence in the U.S., you should stop interfering with ICE. He's exactly right. Are all the ICE detentions and arrests related to drug cartels? No, but a bunch of them are. And we need to be taking these people off our streets and putting them back in the countries they came from, because they are distributors. They are causing problems. The left stream, mainstream media will cause you to believe that the majority of these arrests are just law-abiding citizens of America, or not citizens, law-abiding illegal residents of the country, just working jobs and trying to provide for their family and sending back funds to America. Is that happening? Yes. Is that the majority of the arrests? No. The majority of the arrests are people that have had some sort of criminal activity, whether in the country they came from or here, and they are being detained and deported. And so we have to be okay with this. Again, stop interfering with ICE. They are doing a phenomenal job. They are risking their lives to get people off the streets that are in groups like this that will cause this kind of activity in our country when they don't get what they want. Be that as it may. Tariffs. Let's just talk about tariffs for a second. This is just, a little meme here for a second. Trump calls for tariffs on the country. The left is outraged. They freak out. They panic. They cause problems. We're hurting Americans. Country comes to the table. This country that we've tariffed comes to the table to negotiate a good deal, which our presidents and administrations, by and large in the past, except for the Trump administration, certainly the Biden administration and every administration for the last 3 or 4 decades, have been terrible at negotiating with countries with American first possibilities and properties, terrible at negotiating American first. Now we're bringing, this is the purpose, tariff a country that is getting rich off American purchases because that's what's happening. We are consuming